The name of the band was Prince and the Revolution. Many people took this to mean that Prince would be ushering in some sort of cultural revolution. And for many people, he did do just that. However, there's a little bit more going on with respect to this name, the Revolution, than meets the eye. With respect to Prince, he was also an entity that was focused on revelation. And so, what we're going to be doing is looking at some of the revelation related to Prince's revolution. As you are probably aware, Prince was an extremely complex communicator. And so, what we're going to be doing is deconstructing some of his communications, both verbal and nonverbal, to get a better revelation on this revolution. Prince is also noted as an interlinear communicator, meaning he communicates between the lines. And in order to understand him, you will often have to read between the lines. And he even offers in one song, "Listen to what I'm trying to say." There are two things to keep in mind with respect to this discussion in Prince, and those two things have to do with themes related to Prince's communications. He was very focused on signs and time. And of course, there is the song, Sign of the Times. The name of the song isn't actually Sign of the Times, however. It is Sign O the Times, with the O in quotation marks. And this is significant when you consider what he's communicating with respect to the signs and the time. And we're going to delve into that. In order to get on the same page, it might help to address the topic of signs. With respect to signs, there are components to every sign. You have what is known as the signifier, and then the thing that is signified by the signifier. Generally speaking, a signifier is an impression based upon a sight or a sound. And then signified refers to the cognitive schema that an individual might have with respect to the signifier. Prince's signifiers are multidimensional, they are multifaceted. And so there are layers, many, many layers to these signifiers used by Prince. Um, what we're going to focus on now are some of the themes with respect to these signifiers. Prince was very focused on numbers and equations. He appeared to be very much into geometry, shapes, lines, angles, circles, triangles in particular, arcs. He was very focused on patterns and polysemy. And so that's that multi-dimensional dynamic that's going on, which is why you have to read between the lines when he is communicating or when he was communicating. He was also focused on themes of transformation and cycles or revolutions. And so there is another way of looking at this construct of revolutions other than the construct of change and upheaval. And so what he appeared to be focused on was actually just the opposite of that. And we're going to look at some of those dynamics. Prince utilized a significant amount of nonverbal communication, and it is through the analysis of the nonverbals that you come away with revelations about this construct of revolution. And so, of course, revolution refers to this idea of upheaval. But with respect to Prince and his nonverbal communications, what you come away with is that he is focused on this idea of cycle. He is focused on revolution as orbit, as rotation, as turn. And specifically, he's focused on the construct of the circle. And so this is where the whole idea of geometry comes in, because he is very focused on all sorts of shapes and lines and angles. And the circle is very important in terms of his nonverbal communications and in terms of his verbal communications, because you hear this idea of the circle in a few of his songs, including Round and Round, which is sung by Tevin Campbell. When you start to analyze his communications about the circle, you start to get a better picture of his communications related to time. And with respect to Prince's communications, there is a correlation between these signs and time. And so, with respect to time, Prince was very focused on eschatology. And so he was focused on this idea of the end of an age. He was very apocalyptic in his thinking and his communications about time. And at one point in one song, he offers, "Could have sworn it was Judgment Day." And so you hear these themes in a number of communications that he offers with respect to sign and times. And what he also does is he correlates the signs and the times. And you see this with respect to that song, "Sign O the Time." You even see this focus on the time with respect to the group known as the Time and that infamous question of what time is it? And of course, we see the import of the circle for Prince with respect to his symbol. And so when you look at his symbol, you see the circle at the top or the bottom, depending on the orientation of the symbol. And here you can see the circle images on his clothing. Circles are ubiquitous and simultaneously simple and complex. A circle can simply represent a circle. It can represent a ball. A circle can also represent a number or a letter. And notably, a circle represents the God code. While the circle serves as a signifier for the God code, with respect to the Greek, the circle or the O comes in different sizes. And so one size is the small o, known as the micron. The larger O is understood as the mega. In many ways, it's understood as a double micron, so 2 microns, two of those small O's. And so the bigger O is understood as the omega. Now, many people will make this correlation between the omega and the God code. However, some people might not make the correlation between the micro and the God code. What's also noteworthy about Prince's communications related to these symbols is that he appears to be communicating that the small o, or the micron, is pointing the way to the larger O, or the mega. In other words, the micron is serving as a harbinger for the omega. Tell me what it is we really want to find. Is the truth really there, or is it right under our head? For all we know, it's been there all the time. Tell me what it is we really want to find. Is the truth really there, or is it right under our head? For all we know, it's been there all the time. Tell me